All right, cool. Moving along, I had some computer issues, so I had to figure that out and get back in. But next fight up, let's just keep going. Kevin Holland, Randy Brown. Randy Brown is coming off that loss in the main event. He was booked against one of the Bonfim brothers at the Apex. Ended up getting knocked out. It's kind of like a decent. He had a decent case for the stoppage. In terms of it being early, he caught a pretty brutal knee in close, and he looked like he was out, and his head had hit the mat, and it actually looks like that it's woke him back up. Bonfim actually flew backwards when he connected with the knee, so he wasn't able to follow up right away. But he was on his way to do that. And I don't remember who the referee was, but they did stop it before he had the follow up shot. And it turns out Randy Brown was still up and good because, like I mentioned, the fall to the floor had woke him back up. But he was definitely out on the way down. If he wasn't, his head wouldn't have hit like that. So he had a case that he was still good, but I think it was a good stoppage. Both being most likely, maybe he blocks like the first strike, but the second and third, when they come raining down, it most likely would have put him back out and did a lot more damage to him. So I wasn't too against that stoppage, but of course the fighter was, and yeah, he was the underdog in that fight. Before that, he lost a split decision to Brian Battle, which was a terrible fight. We bet Brown in that spot, so I do have some feelings about that. But Battle pretty much just missed weight by like 4 or 5 pounds and held Brown up against the cage. So not only did he miss weight, he fought or he used it to his advantage in with cage clinches, and it's on Brown to get out of that. But that was a frustrating fight. And then Dalby was just pretty much a war. Dalby had to drop him with an overhand, which is a common thing for Brown. Dos Santos had dropped him with an overhand. He's been knocked out before. So definitely that is a worry with him. Like I mentioned specifically with the overhand, he tends to drop his hands a lot, and because he's a tall guy, as they say, his chin is up in the air. So as soon as he drops his hands and someone's coming over the top, it's just like an easy connection. Um, with the way Kevin Holland swings too, kind of like wild, that's something that could be potentially in play here. So we'll be looking at Kevin Holland by knockout, and then yeah, we'll check out the lines. But I did line it, and I want to talk about Kevin Holland, but this guy fights like 5 times a year. I'm actually pretty shocked that this is only his first fight of the year. He usually has like two by now. He's just one of those guys that, one, he fights all the time, so you kind of get sick of talking about him. And two, he just hasn't really improved much anywhere. He kind of just is what he is. Like he's a good, reliable name for the UFC, so he keeps getting booked against guys that either want to show off or guys that are looking to progress. And sometimes he could set occasional matchup where it does favor him, like the Gunnar Nelson and Luke Gay fight. But he got the same thing with D-Rod, and look what happened with that. D-Rod boxed his head off. Um, Holland almost finished that fight in the third round because D-Rod was gassed to the moon, but D-Rod survived and won, and it took the first 2 rounds. So, I mean, I'm not hating on Kevin Holland. I still think he has a really good skill set to win against anybody, mostly because he has a decent grappling, even though his takedown defense isn't too good. And he's still long and dangerous, good knees, good elbows, which is probably something we'll see here against Brown, who tends to crash into guys and get in those clinches. So, in terms of the line of the fight, I did go with Brown. I kind of had him. I'm looking at my line now. I had him like in minus 180 range, which may feel a little too rich, to be honest. But I guess that's just Kevin Holland for you. Um, Consistency is one of my things when I'm betting on guys. And if I can't rely on you to be in um, your best form, I most likely fade in you in some capacity. But at the same time, like I mentioned with Brown, he can get hit with that overhand. So I'm always worried about that, especially against another longer fighter. And he could gas too as well. And like I said, these guys are just both pretty flawed. So I most likely won't have it play on this fight unless the line is heavily favored towards one of them. And we're gonna go ahead and check that out. Maybe I'll just go to fight odds and then go to the props then. Bet 365. Okay, so this fight's a pick 'em. Wow. I'm not gonna lie, I did not think this fight was going to be a pick 'em. So that kinda let me see who it's in favor for at least. Okay, so yeah, Bet 365 has Brown the favorite, which was what I was really think this was gonna be, but DraftKings is dead even. You can't get plus money on any of them, huh? How do I move this over? I don't know, but, yeah, I guess I like Randy Brown then because like I said, I lined him at -185, which I think is a little too rich, so, I would knock that down a little bit. But yeah, I'd probably take Brown here. I'm gonna do a little bit more research, so let's check out the props. Alright, so they're expecting him to get done by decision, which is yeah, because Holland, in a way, is hard to finish. Oh, man, but do you just wanna trust, Randy Brown? The way he just keeps going up and down, like, this guy would just, look great and then just come crashing down against Bone Fiend, against, Brian Battle. Yeah, I mean, I gotta take, Randy Brown here. I'm gonna wait to see where this line goes. We have seen significant line movement, like, on fight day, but, um, at current prices, at -110, I would not be shocked if I locked that in on Brown, so we'll take a look a little later, but as of right now, I like a bet on Brown right there to go ahead and get that done, as he could win a number of ways. Another thing is wrestling, like, he's not exactly a wrestler, but I think against Kevin Holland, he could be able to and, get inside and, at least get to fight to the ground for it to be, like, a factor if the fight was or if a round was close. So the striking, I would give it to Brown, and then, the grappling slight or at least the wrestling in Brown's favor and the grappling to Holland. So, um, yeah, yeah, I'm probably gonna take Brown. If I can get plus money on Brown, if we see any type of line movement, going towards Kevin Holland, which it doesn't look like it. I don't see any book with him being any more than a pick 'em. Yeah, it seems like they're all favoring Brown still for the most part. Let me see. Like I said, I haven't been on social media, so I haven't seen like any line movement either. So Brown is pretty much a favor. So it looks like there's money coming in on Holland pretty steady through the week. Yeah, I like Brown. I keep saying it. I like Brown. I like Brown. But I will most likely be taking him. And yeah, let's move on. Patricio Pitbull, Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico's back. We remember what happened to him last time. Ate a spinning elbow, a nasty one. That's just so brutal. I feel like he was fighting okay. The thing with him is I wish he would slow down. He was landing those body shots that he's like known for. He throws like a great left hook to the body. Something is one of like his like signature punches, signature strikes, I should say. And he's known for the wrestling. Apparently, he was a Golden Gloves champion, which is like a big boxing tournament. If you don't know, and then he has I forgot his wrestling like accolades, but I know he's a very good wrestler. So that's what he was mostly known for. He did get to take down Laurel Murphy, but Murphy got back up. Um, I just don't see like the boxing, the how that's really translating to MMA. I don't think he's like the greatest striker. His strikes are very wide. Um, Not saying that boxing automatically does transfer over, but I thought he'd just be more of a cleaner puncher. Even with those the punch to the body, like I said, they're very wide and they're very wild, and his style altogether is just very. Um, he's putting pressure on guys. I mean, that's always a good thing. But I just wish he was be more calculated. I feel like that's definitely going to be necessary in the long term if he ever decides to fight 5 round fights. You can have all the cardio in the world, but when you're facing a world class guy for 25 minutes, there has to be some type of pacing, and that's something I think he struggles with, and that could just be an experience thing because he's faced mostly bums this far. With respect to a couple guys on here that I do know, but for the most part, yeah, he's been kind of just getting like this treatment, just being built up, and they did him no favors with Murphy. I forgot, yeah, of Olaf. Well, most of our would have been a crazy fight too. But yeah, where I was going was that UFC is pretty much just feeding this guy to some names, for either for better or for worse. So yeah, he ate the spinning elbow by Laura Murphy. That was brutal. I mean, like I said, he was winning that fight, I guess, for the 2 minutes that it lasted. But yeah, he just walked right into it, and that's another thing of him pressuring so much is that you can't walk into strikes, especially when you're going for your grappling too. You're kind of like shooting in, you're exposed. So yeah, that was that he got put out very bad. I was one of the knockout of the year contenders, and now he's on the turnaround a little less than a year. So he's been knocked out before as well. I know he has like 4 TKO losses, I believe. Yeah, on his record. One of them was a shoulder injury, so that doesn't necessarily count. He did get put out in one of those fights, pretty bad too, where he was like a legit knockout. So I guess the chin can be somewhat of a worry. And then, yeah, he'll look to rebound here against Pitbull. Pitbull just got his first UFC win against Dan Ige, who I think is pretty overrated, but we will save Ige to slander today because it's not necessary. But yeah, he made his debut last year as well against Yair Rodriguez, which was a terrible matchup for him. Yair is just kind of like a bigger guy, while Pitbull is on the other side of that. He's kind of smaller and more compact, while Yair is like this lengthy kickboxer who just pretty much kicked the entire time and it kept Pitbull on the outside, and there was just really nothing Pitbull could do. Yair did a really good job of circling the cage, so he couldn't get um, Pitbull couldn't get a hold of him, and yeah, he just fought a perfect fight. I actually thought Pitbull ate some nasty strikes in that fight. He ate a one head kick where I don't even know how you survived it, but shout out to his durability. I know he has gotten knocked out in a fight or two before that fight. Yeah, 2 fights before. So another thing with Pitbull, along with kind of like being on the small side, is his volume has suffered lately. He's kind of like more of like a one punch guy, and that's just no good, no bueno in this era of MMA. You need to show out for the entire 5 minutes of the fight, or your opponent's going to land one punch and everybody's going to scream damage. So, with that said, he could land that one punch too. He's a compact, powerful guy with good grappling, good wrestling, but with the volumes not there, you're not getting judges anything to see. It's hard to really score a fight in your favor if that's the case. He does have the grappling, so I think he's going to be able to stay safe with Pico. But Pico is just the bigger fighter here. He's going to be faster, and I think he just puts out more volume. Then you got the takedowns too as well that he most likely gets to. What he does with them, we'll see. But I think he'll get enough like control time for it to be a difference, and everything kind of comes together for him. So I did make him the favorite, if you can't already tell. I kind of seen the odds when I was scrolling through on accident, so I want to tell you my line, but uh, I'm just gonna pull the band-aid off. Let's do it. Yeah, minus 330. Wow. Yeah, that's it. That's what I thought I had seen, and that's kind of. It's not crazy. Like I said, I do think Pico's a favorite, but minus 330. That's pretty expensive on a guy that just one got knocked out pretty bad, and two is facing a guy like Pitbull with a ton of experience and can potentially survive at least on his back and get it up and land some big shots. So I think this fight is closer than what these lines are saying. I'm looking at over 2.5 too. I do like that number. I do have to go back and line a couple of my overs, but I'm pretty sure I was close to this range for this one. Fight goes a distance plus 130. I don't like those numbers. Let's see what the props are telling us. So they favor Pico by TKO. Oh, wow, that's interesting. I know Pitbull is a good grappler, but when you think of Pico, who's going to wrestle plus 700 for sub, that is a decent price as well. I mean, he does have like a lot of ground and pound victories, so I guess I do get that. Plus 180 on Pico by decision. I mean, if you're just playing a straight up winner, you're definitely going dog or pass here with Pitbull. But like I mentioned, the volume thing is just so scary because if you're not giving judges anything to score, um, that's like the number one. That's like the number one drawback of any fighter when it comes to betting, that you don't want to put money on someone that goes out there and doesn't throw. It's the most frustrating thing, and it's going to allow Pico to move forward and get the takedowns and all that. So I bet the over in that Laurent Murphy Pico fight. I think it was only 1.5 too. And well, I think I used it as a parlay piece, and that obviously crashed and died. So I do have some PTSD of taking it over here. But I will most likely take that or fight goes the distance just to get extra money on that. Let's check out the other lines to see what we got. Okay, I don't think this is right. There we go. 2.5, 108. Okay, so Bet365 looks to be pretty much on the higher end of the market when it comes to these over numbers. So yeah, I don't mind that number. I think there's going to be a lot of grappling, so that always goes in the favor of any type of over. These guys most likely not exactly tire out, but um, once the grappling gets to a certain level, uh, guys kind of lose their punching power, and they will take breaks. And so yeah, I like the over 2.5 there. I will take that. But the under favored though, Pitbull by TKO 525. Um, yeah, I mean he could always connect, and we'll see if Pico has a chin or not. But yeah, I'm going towards plus money regardless in this situation. I would not pay this price on Pico as a parlay piece or any type of Pico juice at all. That sounds like a actual juice, Pico juice. But over 2.5 is most likely to play there, and we'll circle back to that after weigh-ins. All right, let me be right back. I gotta grab something. All right, moving on up. I believe we got Cub Swanson versus Nate the Train. Battle of the old heads. Cub is 42. Nate is 37. I believe this is Cub Swanson's last fight. I keep saying this, but I haven't been on social media this week, so I have not seen that this is his last fight. But I thought before, like a couple weeks ago, I thought he announced it. But regardless, he's getting towards that age of this. Anyone could be his last one, but I'm pretty sure this one is. So you know the rule: fade the retiring fighter. I believe in one of the fights I was rewatching with Cub that he was quoted saying that fighting is not the number one priority right now. He does coach. He just got a big win. I'm sure he coaches other guys that have fought after the dude that just knocked out Arosa. That looked pretty good. That was dropping him with a freaking jab. Um, so yeah, he's coaching now, which he pretty much has his priorities there, and doesn't take away from how he looks. This picture, I'm not sure exactly when this picture was, but he literally looked like this in his last fight. And yeah, he's in shape. He has still decent punch speed. Where he's been lacking is his reactions in terms of like avoiding punches, his movement. It hasn't been the same, which is not a good sign for his style because he's usually hands low and looking to brawl with guys. So that's something I did draw a red flag on. That's very common red flag for older fighters too. So especially with him, where he's entering brawls and looking to bang out. Pause. So yeah, I do think he is fadeable. The question is he fadeable against Nate the Train, who is kind of like on the same thing, even though he is 37. Nate the Train has been in some wars himself, and he kind of has the same style where he's going to go in there and fight and throw hands. Obviously, he's going to fight, but he's going to throw hands and look to knock Cub out. Um, both of these guys are in, I wouldn't say poor form. Cub Swanson. Well, let me go back to his record. I should have went over a couple of his fights before I moved on. So Feely, and as you see, he hasn't fought since 2024. So there's another red flag to pick on the ring rust plus the retiring. But the Feely fight, I honestly thought he could have won that fight, or at least he should have. In my mind, I thought I had the last 2 rounds for him. But yeah, that was kind of like a fight where it was all hands, and Feely was grappling a lot, or at least trying to. He was clinching, and I thought Cub did a good job of outlanding him in 2 of the rounds. So I had Cub 29-28 on that card, so he could easily be on a 3-fight win streak right now. Um, the fight against Billy Q was kind of like a brawl too, as well. Billy Q was landed on him pretty heavy, but he was able to hurt Billy Q a couple times, and he knocked him flat out in that 3rd round, like a minute 30 in, and that was in Billy Q's backyard in Tampa. And that was, as you see, he got the performance bonus. So that was a vintage knockout. It's almost like he should have went out on that one, or at least I would have. 50 G's in your pocket and um, a knockout of the year contender. It's kind of a way to end it, but maybe he has one more fight on his contract. As you know, you need to get out of that contract if you can, so you go do other things. So maybe that is why he is getting in here against Nate the Train. So recent record, good. Like I said, he could easily be on a 3-fight win streak, but the eye test shows you that he is declining from a reaction standpoint. His movement is not the same. Billy Q is a good fighter, but he's not necessarily known for his striking. He's more of like a grappler. Um, he at least shouldn't have touched him. Oh, baby's up. He at least shouldn't have touched him as much as he did. The fight was pretty close going into that 3rd round. So, that's just a sign of decline. It happens. Same thing with Nate the Train. If you look at his record, he got his ass whooped against Doo Ho Choi. That fight wasn't even close. The crucifix it wasn't even like he like beat him and he went out. It was the ref was just like, all right, it's enough. Like you got beat up enough. It was one of those like, you know, the damage was just piling up and there was no reason for him to take more because he was not winning that fight. And then Charrier knocked him out in the 3rd round, which was a close fight. In that 2nd round, Nate the Train came alive and was able to land a lot of shots on Charrier. But Charrier landed a big punch like 10 seconds in and just went to town on him and finished him. Um, he got hit in the back of his ear against Charrier, so it wasn't like one of these, he got caught clean on his jaw and went out. One of those like concerning knockouts where he's starting to question his chin. It was the fact that he got hit on the back of the ear. Kind of, when that happens, it kind of, well, I don't know. I've never been knocked out or hit in the back of my ear, but from what they say, it kind of knocks off your equilibrium. So he kind of just looked like he was out on his feet, and then Charrier just went to town on him and finished him. So, I mean, he competed in that fight 2 fights ago or 3 fights ago against Emmers. Emmers did knock him down. He didn't exactly like drop him or like Nate was like woozy and got knocked down but recovered. I kind of just caught him off balance, but Emmers was having some success before Nate the Train landed that uppercut and finished him on the mat. So, in terms of the odds, I gave Nate the Train. It was a pick 'em to me, but I gave Nate the Train slightly favorite look. because, like I said, the retiring thing, the ring rust thing, and I think it's just need to train just better defensively. I would rather trust the older fighter who like keeps his hands up and moves than the one that got his hands down and is reliant on his movement. So I did have Nate to train as a slight favorite, and I'm very interested to see this line. Yep, pick him just like I thought. That makes yeah. I mean, there's really no solid case for any of these guys. Let me see where it is everywhere else. Okay, so like Nate on some sites, like you could get plus money on Nate on a couple sites, MGM. Yeah, so I don't feel strongly any which way about this fight, so I will not lock anything in now. I would most likely wait to see where the value goes on fight day. Since it's a pick 'em, I think this fight will see some action. Um, it's always great seeing pick'ems. I feel like it's really good for the MMA market, and a lot of bettors kind of are leaning towards these on fight day. So I would wait until we see who really comes out on the plus money side and most likely take them. If it's strongly any other way, anybody like plus 110 would probably be an automatic bet in this fight. And yeah, I mean, if you could get Nate to train plus money, like I said, 105, I don't exactly hate that bet. Um, Either by decision is pretty good too. Notice that line is pretty close. And then they actually favor Cub to get a TKO more. Fight goes the distance plus 100. That's not a bad bet either. I mean, it's favored to go over over 2.5. Maybe these guys throw at the end, Max Holloway style, point down. I don't know if we could still say Max Holloway style after his last fight, but yeah, I'd wait on this to see where the value shows itself. But as of right now, I do like Nate. If you get plus 105, which you can, but just wait. I would wait. All right, moving on up. Who we got next up? Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker. Topology gives me issues sometimes. So I'll wait for that to pop up. I'll pull the notes up. Man, this is another fight where, like, oh, does anybody have a strong lean on Johnny Walker versus Dominic Reyes? If you do, you must see into the future because both of these guys are just one of those like meme fighters, as I like to call them. Um, they're either getting knocked out hilariously or they're knocking somebody out in the same style. Let's go over to Walker and take a look at him and share some thoughts. Coming off a big win against Mingying Zhang, which was over in China, so he did play spoiler in that one. I was gonna say fluke, but I don't. It was a good win for Johnny Walker. The reason why I was gonna say fluke is because it was the leg kick that started it. It was a calf kick that hurt Zhang. From there, he kind of just jumped on and finished him. I don't know exactly what happened with Zhang on that one. I don't know if it was like an O'Malley situation where kind of like hit a nerve and there was nothing he could do. But it's not like they kind of like added up. He did land some calf kicks before that, but it seemed like it was a one that really hurt Zhang and dropped him down. And even if he could get up, he probably couldn't have. And with Walker being as strong and long and awkward as he is, he was just landing a lot of ground and pound. He did land some to the back of the head. I'm not coping because I didn't bet that fight, but yeah, I'm just saying it's not like this clean win, like oh Johnny Walker's back or Johnny Walker has some ceiling again, because the chin he did survive some shots, but he was doing a lot of running in that Zhang fight. Um, Not running. I hate saying that. I shouldn't have said that. Good circling, good movement. He was staying away from Zhang's power punch or from his power hand. So he had a great game plan. and then the calf kick ended up, you know, being the key to success there and got him the win. So shout out to Johnny Walker for getting back in the win column. But before that, um, Ozdemir knocked him out, 2 minutes in. Uh, Magomed probably would have knocked him out 2 minutes in too, but he really didn't do anything for that first round. Granted, that was most likely because that was a 5-round fight. And I mean, Big Ant is kind of low volume to begin with, but as soon as he let his hands go, he knocked him out hilariously. Where Walker fell into the cage and ate another punch for his troubles. Um, and we all know like the Jamal Hill knockout, and other times he's been pretty much hurt. And you look at all his wins, um, Anthony Smith, Paul Craig, Kudibala, Span. These are all guys that we know their level. Any serviceable name he has faced that we see, it has ended bad for him. So all the potential in the world because of his frame. I mean, the guy is built. You see it. Where's that? 6'6", 82-inch reach. Dude's a powerhouse, man. Could even potentially go up to heavyweight. I know it's something that was talked of. His brother is at heavyweight, so maybe not. But I think maybe that's a future move for him, even though I would pray for his chin, especially if he gets knocked out here. But I mean, we were talking about like him possibly not being in the UFC if he lost to Zhang. So now he goes from that to a fight against Dominic Reyes, who has been in similar situations. Same thing with the chin. He just got knocked out again by Olberg, which was kind of like one of those like, all right, is Reyes back? This is going to be the true test. If he can at least compete here, I think we would have felt a lot better about him in the future. But after 2 wins after coming back, or 3 wins after coming back from a layoff, it's kind of like he's right back down to where we thought, where he was, and that's cooked. Because when you take layoffs and you got a shaky chin at this weight class, it doesn't turn out well. He's getting a little older, even though I believe he's still a little younger. He's 36 and 37 this year, so time's ticking. I mean, older fighters could prosper in this division, but not when your chin's gone. And yeah, I mean, he looked great in that three fight stretch. The Anthony Smith one kind of is what it was. Nikita Krylov, he sniped him when Krylov was coming in. Sniped him with a nice, I don't remember if it was right or left, but it was some type of a cross, and put it right on his chin and slumped him. Jacoby landed a good combo 2 minutes in, which is a good win, especially since Jacoby has been streaking lately and is a really good kickboxer, athletic as well. But yeah, we know the story before that. He was dealing with a lot of like personal things too. For the record, I had him beating John Jones in that fight. I remember I was in a room full of my friends, and they were John Jones fanboys, and I was just like, "Wow, like Ray has just beat him," and my friends don't even know. Like my friends are kind of like celebrating in a way, like they think John Jones won this fight, but there's no way. And that fight was in Texas, who's notoriously known to have bad judging, or at least fights usually are like weirdly judged in that state, because the judges float around, so it doesn't necessarily make sense that it would be common in one area. But I don't know. I feel like Texas did have that reputation for a while for having like weirdly scored fights, and yeah, they gave it to John Jones on that one. I digress. Going into the line, I had Reyes as a slight favorite, but like I said, with both guys' chins, you never know. The reason why I did go Reyes was because I feel like he's a lot more technical savvy. While Walker has kind of like the unpredictable power shots and just kind of like hard to read with all his spins and his crazy kicks and things like that. I like Reyes because he's more technical. And I think if he's able to land something clean, like he's more able to land something clean because he's more technical, is what I'm trying to say. And I got hiccups. What's up? So yeah, I favor Reyes in that fight, but definitely don't feel in a strong way. This could go like if Walker eats like the first couple punches, all he needs to do is land like one of those crazy spins, and this fight could be over. Like I'm fully expecting under 1.5 to be like minus 300, minus 200, which is most likely going to be the case. But I haven't seen the line, so let's go look. And Reyes is the favorite, like I expected, minus 140. Still too rich. I don't think I would lay that on that chin. And minus 1.5 is 210. So not exactly 300, but I was exaggerating. TKO. I would just take Reyes by TKO plus 110. That would be an easy lock for me. Does he wrestle? I don't think so. I think Walker could fight that off. Just being with his big frame and being as strong as he is and having some grappling of his own. But that path is open for Reyes. But I would not pay minus 140 on him. Let's see where else we can get it. So yeah, it's pretty consistent. Minus 138 on FanDuel looks to be the lowest. 125 isn't bad on Hard Rock. So this will most likely be another fight where I'm going to wait to see where the money comes in on. Don't really have any interest in betting Walker unless he gets something up to something crazy. I think I'd feel really comfortable in taking Reyes plus money knockout. And the more I think about it, that's not a bad play because that could happen at any point in this fight. And the same thing with Walker getting the knockout, but just what we know from Walker is he's gonna find a way to get in bad spots and put unless he's circling kind of like he did against Sang if he comes with the same game plan. But Reyes has better footwork than that. I think Reyes eventually finds him and 120 on FanDuel. That's a really good number. I'd probably lock that in after this. So if you are watching this and tailing, lock that in 120 on FanDuel. I will post that probably sometime today. Cool. Yeah, I like Reyes there. I was expecting him to be the favorite. He was just a little too rich on the 140 number, and minus 125 isn't bad either, which is but I had him in that range, like minus 125. So really no value if we're going off what exactly I lined the fight. All right, let's keep it moving. Got a couple fights left. Don't want this to be too long. All right, this one's an interesting one. Blades, Josh Hockett. I'm going to say it again, just in case you're kind of in and out on this or you skipped the beginning or skipped any other times I've said it. I've not been on social media. I have not been on social media this week, but I did see Hockett's presser, a little bit of it. This guy is insane. He's playing some type of character. Like, I honestly don't even know how to describe it. It's like a CTE character, I guess is the best way to say it. He wears that American flag do-rag pretty much in all of his little like promos. He even did like Ariel Hawani with like a Irish accent. It's not, you can't even like describe it because it's his gimmick because it's just everywhere. I don't even know like what he's trying to do besides just like look at me like that. That's honestly the best way I could put it. It's just he's just doing anything to get looked at, and that's cool. I guess everyone wants to be different, and Lord knows the heavyweight division needs that and some type of upper because there's just not really much going on from top to bottom right now. So he's getting a shot. He's trying to give the division a shot in the arm, and he's getting the opportunity to take that further against Blades because Blades has seen it all, has faced pretty much everyone in the class with mixed results. So just to go ahead and go in on Hockett, former college wrestler, it slips my mind where, but it was Division One, and then he ended up playing fullback in the NFL. So very athletic. Didn't last there, so he went over to MMA, and he's pretty much just been taking down guys and beating them up. That's pretty much what his record is. As you see, punches from crucifix, rear naked, punches from back mount. This guy has been able to do like the classic, like heavyweight wrestler tour on the indies, where you're kind of just facing guys that are either out of shape or have no idea how to wrestle, and you take them down and you beat them up. So, off athleticism alone, he's been able to get by and kind of just learn on the fly to striking. And that's another thing, he kind of gets by with his striking, with his athleticism. He did knocked out Jimenez, but they signed Jimenez off the street for that one, and I'm pretty sure Jimenez is more of like a grappler. Um, so as soon as he got like a couple licks on him, he just kind of unloaded and finished him. Um, Athletic, strong dude, so he's going to hit hard. But we still haven't seen him be able to go any further than that second round in the Contender Series. Let me see. We had a round 3 in his first fight. Well, he at least has never been pushed competitively, it seems like, in a long fight, which is a common thing in guys coming up. Some guys pass that test, some don't. But we usually see them pass or fail that test at a lesser level than a Curtis Blades. So that will be the common angle on a lot of people picking Blades. But Blades is kind of cooked in my book. I'm not going to lie. That rhymed, and I didn't even want it to. But Blades won at the split decision against Kuniev, which is very close. I know a lot of people were kind of upset, especially if they bet Kuniev that Blades had won that fight. They didn't feel like he did enough. I bet Blades in that fight, so I was pretty happy. But it wasn't a comfortable bet when you watched it, because it should have been a split. And on the rewatch, I kind of did lean towards Kuniev. Blades was able to get his striking going a little late to kind of maybe steal that third round. So I believe it was 1-3 for Blades was on the judges' scorecards, and then a lot of media members had that fight for Kuniev. But regardless, he won. Before that, he did get knocked out by Big Tom. The Almeida fight, he was taken down for like the entire first round, and kind of handled pretty easy. The same thing was happening at the beginning of the second, and then Almeida's negative fight IQ. Somehow he just stopped fighting and ate a whole bunch of elbows and went to sleep, or a hammer fist and went to sleep. So, and before that, you see the preview. I don't like going back too far just because I just like recent forms. Usually that's like 2, maybe 3 years for me, depending on the activity. But before that, same thing. He got knocked out by Pavlovich. He got knocked out very bad by Derek Lewis. And then he kind of has these other fights where he uses wrestling for the most part to get by and either win decisions or get some ground and pound in. But I can't trust his chin. I also think his striking is not great at all. It's usually used to set up his grappling, and is very sloppy. He could dip his head a lot when he throws, which is going to set him up to be, like uppercut or any type of knee. So he's very hittable. I think he kind of like is at a point in his career where he's not going to get any better either. So he is going to sell out for these takedowns and kind of just work the cage, and just not like that winner friendly style from people that want to see blood and people get hit. So I mean, I'm not exactly down on him enough to say that Hackett should be the favorite here, but a bet on Curtis Blades, I would not feel comfortable having that in the cage on Saturday night against Hackett. Granted, Blades is the bigger guy. Their last weigh-ins, Hackett came in at 234, and then Blades was at 256. And I'd imagine it would be similar to that, with Blades being 3 inches taller and just overall the bigger guy. So that is something to consider. But with his chin and how he could pretty much be put out by any shot at any time, I don't think I would be interested in Blades at a favorite number here. I'm expecting him to be the favorite. I line this fight close to a pick'em, and I just like Hackett's momentum now. If it hits the second and third round, it will be a little worrisome just because we haven't seen Hockey get pushed to that level against a guy that most likely will wrestle too. So that will be a high pace. With that said, Blades in the last couple third rounds has been huffing and puffing, so that could be a factor too. Um, but yeah, I would say this is like near pick'em, and audio cut out. All right. Oh, sorry guys, I thought my audio cut out. Yeah, that's what we got. Pretty much, Blades is a favorite. This thing is going crazy on me. All right, sorry guys, my audio's cutting out my headphones. Okay, Blades minus 130, 110, which is what I expected. What I was interested in, and I didn't see it yet, I wasn't looking, Hawk by TKO, and we got 265. Now that's something I'm definitely interested in. If I am going to take Hockett, I think it's sorry, I got sidebar because I just seen under 2.5 is minus 120, which is pretty interesting too. Knowing Hockett doesn't really have late round experience, you could kind of just gas later in the fight. Fight goes the distance, minus 155. No. Um, so there's a couple ways you could go about it. If you do like Hockett, and well, if you like them, don't love them, I could see why this under 2.5 number makes a lot of sense. We still got heavyweights here, so you never know. Granted, there could be a lot of hugging in this fight with the way Blades has been fighting, and with Hockett most likely welcoming the wrestling with his background. I do see why kind of this number is what it is, but I think I would take it. I think I would kind of pass on minus 120 number if we could find something. Sorry, guys, my audio keeps messing up. If we could find something a little better than that minus 120, I'd be interested. But I can't stop looking at 265, just knowing Blade's chin and the way Hockett is going to throw. So um, I will sit tight. Let's see everywhere else is at 115. Looks like to be the highest on the board. I don't mind that either. If you really think Hockett does have the ceiling, you're definitely taking that against Blades, since Blades kind of just like a one-trick pony. At the same time, if you like Blades, I would take him by decision, which is a good number, 225. But I like that Hockett TKO number. I honestly think he should have a better number than Blades right here because of just with Blades' chin and his tendency to just make mistakes. So I would most likely go Hockett by TKO if I was playing this one, and I may take that. Let's see if we can find it anywhere else better. Sorry, guys. Towards the end of this breakdown, my audio was going in and out my headphones, so I wanted to check to make sure because I don't want to end this and I find out I wasn't talking the entire time and the audio didn't get picked up. Hockett 2KO, 260. What was that, FanDuel? All right, so FanDuel is handing out the TKO props this week, so we're going to check that out. Yeah, I like Hockett by TKO there, so I most likely would play that and keep an eye on the money line too. So, like I keep saying too, we're gonna wait till weigh-ins to really lock anything, but this is definitely a fight to keep an eye on to see where money goes to. Like I mentioned with the Nate the Train fight, pick'ems usually get a lot of action, at least mostly this year. Seems like a lot of big money guys are waiting towards like fight day to really put in big money on. So that usually moves the lines. So I'd be interested to see where that goes. I would imagine a lot of people would have money on Hockett just being the younger, fresher guy with a better chin and arguably more power. So, and it looks like he's going to go for it too. He seems like one of those guys, like that newer generation that's like knows what the UFC wants and is going to throw hands. So he's going to go out swinging in this fight. If he avoids the takedowns, I would not feel comfortable seeing blades on the feet for too long. So I do like Hockett here, but we'll wait to see where the value goes. Yeah, cool. Moving along. Getting close to the end here. I believe we got 2 more fights left, 2 or 3. Yep, 2. So go to the co-main. Azamat Mirzakhanov versus Paulo Costa. Don't get the matchmaking. Mirzakhanov needs to fire his agent. It kind of makes no sense. He's taken, Paulo Costa moving up when he's arguably like a title contender, undefeated, and has, how many wins in UFC? 6-0. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things where there's guys already in line, and probably guys the UFC would most likely favor as champion more. So he is going to have to kind of go through the mud to get a shot. So just kind of like politics, I think, are holding him back because he's finished pretty much everybody. Decision against Jacoby, but that's a tough matchup for anybody, and everyone else he's got to finish over. So, don't get it. I thought maybe he could have fought for the title. I'd argue maybe Yuri skipped the line there, which is understandable. But with Yuri losing as many times as he did against Pereira, and I think honestly that's probably we'll check later, but yeah, Yuri just won I think like one fight. Who did he beat? Well, no, he beat Hill and then he beat Roundtree. So I guess he does have 2 in a row. But this is 6 in a row for Mirzakhanov, and he's finishing guys. So I honestly thought that it would have been him and Olberg for the belt after Pereira moved up, but that is not the case. He'll have to go through Paulo Costa, like I mentioned, is just the weirdest matchmaking. I know Paulo Costa is a name. If you are going to fight again, I guess you should fight someone that is a decent name instead of kind of just taking on like that next guy up in the rankings. So, yeah, in terms of Mirzakhanov's style, he is a striker. Does have some wrestling as well, naturally, since he is from Russia. But he's known for his striking, and he has legit power, good kicks, solid punches, solid boxing, and good movement too as well. The only thing is his movement does slow. He's very hoppy. That's kind of like the best way to say it, I guess. But he hops a lot in the stance, and he moves a lot to begin with. So he tends to gas towards the end. That's what happened in the Jacoby fight. He actually lost that 3rd round because he was just slower, and he's still dangerous. He still packs power, and he's still explosive, but it's not like at the clip as it is in the first 2 rounds. So if he could learn how to pace that, or kind of like at least up his cardio, he'd be very dangerous for these high level fights that are seeing these going over 1.5 and into the 2nd and 3rd rounds. With that said, he is 36. Not the biggest deal at light heavyweight. We've seen older champions before. But yeah, the question really is just how is he going to do in these later stages fights, because he just hasn't really seen them. He's finished guys within 2 pretty much for his entire UFC career. This fight only went 44 seconds into the 3rd. So yeah, it's just one of those question marks that unfortunately, it's like unfortunate and fortunate at the same time because he's just knocking guys out. But you would rather see it before he gets to the top. And granted, he's not there yet because he's facing Paulo Costa. I am not a Paulo Costa fan, both inside and outside the octagon. I think he's a little weird, but we're only here to look at inside the octagon. And I will say he looked pretty good in his last fight. He actually came up with the volume. Looked like he actually wanted to fight, and he put hands on was it Kopylov. Great kicks. Like I said, the volume was there, so his cardio looked good. He did slow in that 3rd round, and Kopylov was able to land a couple shots on him. But I think this was more a story of Kopylov ceiling lowering than Paulo Costa being back. Um, Granted, with the volume being there, you can't argue against that. He went out there and did what he had to do and won that fight um, with his activity. So, um, is he back? I don't know because this Sean Strickland fight, I will never go back and watch a Strickland fight. But from what I remember, he pretty much didn't do anything, and that's always a weird matchup. Um, but with Whitaker, from what I remember too, I didn't go back and watch a fight either because it's kind of hard for me to watch Costa fights after watching him for so long. But I think that was the issue too, is just too low volume. And yeah, I mean, there's a chance he could be returned to that former self here against Mirzakhanov because of the power on the other side and him moving up. I would like to see what Paulo Costa looks like at weigh-ins and during the face-offs because I do think his move up isn't going to hurt him as much. He's already kind of like a bigger, muscular guy. So I'm not thinking it's the biggest deal. Mirzakhanov is like a tank, but he's not like this big, tall guy. It actually looks like that Paulo Costa may have the reach advantage. Yeah, about like a half inch. So in terms of, yeah, and he's taller by 2 inches. So the move up isn't exactly um, too much of a worry in this matchup outside of the power advantage that Mirzakhanov's going to have. But I am interested to see what this fight looks like in the second and third round if it gets there. Paulo Costa is going to be faster, I believe, especially in those 2 rounds. If he could get his kick activity going and kind of weigh and land on Mirzakhanov early, that would help slow him down as well. So I think if he comes with the same game plan he had with Kopylov for getting his kicks going first, this could end up a pretty interesting fight. But I lined at Mirzakhanov. I was close to minus 200 Mirzakhanov. Not sure if we see that, but let's go check it out. Yep, minus 200. So, yeah, hit that one right on the head. Cool. So, I mean, that kind of sucks because, like I said, there's no value there if I hit it right on the head. I'm not leaning a certain way. So, I would take Mirzakhanov. Well, I wouldn't take him minus 205 because that's where I lined him. What I was liking though, and I was telling myself if it was playable, I would take a look at it. Was the overs? Um, I could see Costa kind of just staying safe in this fight if he does feel any power coming towards him, kind of just to save that face by not getting finished. Um, minus one or what's the over? Yeah, minus 125. Plus 100 fight goes the distance. I was hoping to get a better number on that just because I thought maybe the market would really lean on Mirzakhanov's power and his TKO record. But it looks like they're pretty hip to it too, that Costa can get into these moments where he's not throwing as much and um, kind of just like all right to go to decision, you know what I mean? I think he did get finished by Izzy, and that's like the only recent time he's been finished. But pretty much you see all the decisions that he has in his career. So it's not, um, yeah, that was his only loss by TKO too as well. And plenty of wins by TKO, but those are earlier in his career. Lately, it's been a lot of decisions. So I see why this number is what it is, but I was hoping for it to be a little better. That's basically saying 50% of the time, half and half. And although I agree with it, I don't see a big edge on that number. So I most likely will pass on this fight. But let me see if I could get, like I mentioned earlier for the Suarez fight, that fight to be won by unanimous decision number on DraftKings is always interesting. If I think a fight is going to go to the distance, it's basically a discount on the fight go to distance number 150. So I would probably play that instead just to get a bigger plus number. I will look around for fight goes the distance. Anything north of plus 100 would be interesting. But as of right now, I will sit and wait on this fight too. All right, Yuri Alberg. You see the odds here. I'm trying not to look at it, but I already seen the odds for this fight earlier in the week. I forgot where I seen it at, but I think I seen it like a week or two ago too. Not when it released, but just floating around when people were talking about this card. Also, RIP to Joshua Van Tazero Tara. That sucks. I really wish we were getting this fight on this card. I felt like it needed it because this kind of felt like a super card, and then that fell off. I believe they pushed it back a month, so I guess the next that fight card will feel bigger, but I don't know. It felt right on this card. It felt right on this card mostly because there's a potential in a lot of these fights ending early, like Swanson, Nate, and two washed guys. Um, they're gonna knockout can happen at any point. Reyes, Walker, that goes without saying. Blades, Hockett, same thing. And Mirzakhanov's power. Like we could be, first round finishes up the card, and the same with the main event. So I thought Tyra and Van was going to be an interesting fight that at least would have lasted into like the third. Um, we'll break that fight down when that card comes up. But I had some good feelings on that one and a solid bet. We'll save that till the next UFC event, which I think is the next pay per view, 328. So we will save it till then. All right, on to the main event. We got Olberg versus Yuri. Olberg, what is this for the? I almost said he's a challenger, but this is for the vacant belt with Pereira moving up. Olberg is just off that knockout victory against Reyes that we mentioned earlier. Before that, faced Jan, the former light heavyweight champion, which was a closer fight. I think I don't remember the scorecards. I know it was clear for Olberg, but it was a pretty underwhelming fight. I did bet against him against Ozdemir, which ended up being a pretty bad bet. But that was another fight where it wasn't that much action either. So I guess that kind of like is his downfall, is his volume in a way. He can go back into his kickboxer like point fighter state of mind instead of the MMA mind where you gotta keep the volume up. So I guess that is my main drawback on him. But outside of that, he's kind of well rounded. Like for a kickboxer, he has decent wrestling and grappling defense, and he's a big, tall, athletic guy. So I see why he's getting this shot here after the wins he's put together because he can be marketed pretty well, especially out in Australia where the UFC likes to go. And he could get knockouts, man. So he could be a pretty good champion for them if he ends up winning. It's just a matter of if he's willing to go in there and throw with the Reyes knockout. That kind of lasted the entire round, which isn't it's still a first round knockout, but it's not like he was in there beating up on Reyes. He kind of just found him and Reyes' chin let him down again. So it'd be very interesting to see how he approaches this fight with Yuri, especially how unpredictable Yuri is. Yuri was the last fight against Roundtree where he was down on that fight and pulled it out in the third, but he really wasn't doing anything in the first two rounds. And people were kind of like criticizing him for that, but he was basically saying he was making his reads and he felt like he was in a good spot the entire time. But it's a 3-round fight. You can't do that in a 3-round fight, and he was down on the cards before he got that comeback win and ended up putting Roundtree away in the third, which was a great fight. Same thing with Jamal Hill. I don't remember the scorecards, but I do remember that fight being somewhat competitive until he got the better of Hill. And then we got the Pereira knockouts around that. So I know everybody loves Yuri. I have never been a Yuri fan from a better standpoint. As a fan, of course you love him. I mean, look at this guy. This dude is just, he like bleeds MMA. He's everything the fans want. And he's just that dude, man. Like you're not missing a Yuri fight. He's always going to be at the top of the cards. So he retires. And yeah, man, it's no shock that he's getting this fight. And everybody's going to be rooting for him. Like that place is going to light up anything he lands. So it's basically a home field advantage for him. Olberg's not going to be get the best reception there because everyone is going to be pulling for Yuri, and as a result, I did see that he was a favorite. As in terms of my line, I'm pretty close to what the lines are. I did label this a pick'em, mostly because what Yuri will struggle with, and we obviously seen it with Pereira, is like more like technical guys like kickboxers that are able to just like throw solid punches up the middle and hit him because as we know his head movement has not always been the best. His style is kind of like all over the place. His hands are low. And if you kind of get like a more technical guy that's actually dangerous and has like a background of um, staying technical and technically sound and not shying away from a game plan, then he could be in trouble because he's just so wild and he could be hit. So um, if you add power on top of that, then you're in a bad place where not only are you getting hit, but you could be put out in this weight class. And he kind of just plays with fire, I guess is the best way to say it, to get to where he needs to get with his reads and start letting his hands go. So that's why I labeled it a pick 'em. And I think I will maybe like the other fights I've said, I will most likely see or I'll most likely see on fight day where the value goes and where the money goes here. Um, Trying to see if Olberg is favorited anywhere, and he is here on bet 105. Yeah, so this line pretty much stayed the same all week, it seems like. Some money on Olberg, which I like, man. If I could get anything a little higher, let me look back at that again. What's the highest number? So yeah, it looks like you can't even get anything past plus 100 on Olberg, even money. Um, I honestly think it will stick that way. Even if money comes in on Olberg, I think the casual fan base or the Yuri believers will kind of balance that out. So I don't think the books are going to go one way or the other unless some like major money comes in on either. I see why you would like Yuri. Like I said earlier, for one, I forgot exactly who I said, but it's one of those he's going to fight for your money spots if he does decide to throw. But you know what you're going to get from Yuri in terms of like he's going out there to throw hands, and that's the judge friendly style. And Olbert's lack of volume can come back to haunt him. One thing you are going to need to do is pressure Yuri and give him something to think about. You know, if you're kind of not doing anything and just standing in front of him and you let him get to flowing, it's going to be a short night. But I think Olbert can stay technical at his kickboxing and land up the middle on Yeri. And then the grappling may be open too. We really haven't seen Yeri grapple in some time. I don't think now Roundtree and Hill definitely not. He did grapple against Pereira in that first fight, but no one's really, gotten to him since Glover. And then he got injured after that, so we really haven't seen him too much of a body of work to be paired against another grappler. So yeah, I would go plus money in a spot no matter which way I go. If you're going Yuri minus 120, I understand. But plus 135 TKO is not bad. And then the over unders is at 2.5, which I would expect this fight to go under, but I would want a better price than that. I would go Olberg here. I will most likely wait though to see where this price goes. And then if I could get plus 110 on Olberg, I will most likely enter on that because, like I said, I got this fight as a pick 'em, so that'd be clear value on the dog right there, and just not that much of a Yuri fan to really pay this price on him, knowing he has a dangerous kickboxer in front of him that's similar to Alex Pereira, just kind of missing like that volume. Even though Pereira is not exactly a high volume guy, but Olberg is just fallen to these moments and minutes where he's not really throwing as much. So still like him though, because I got, like I said, the grappling too as well. So I would go Olbrich here, just the fact that I would rather go plus money. Cool. So just to recap, we'll do that real fast. Like I said in the beginning, the first three fights I will circle back to. I have to line those fights, so I'm keeping my eyeballs off those lines. I did not see them. Suarez Lupi pass. Fight to be won by unanimous decision on DraftKings was minus 150. Decent. If you absolutely want action on this fight, I will pass though and see if I can get Suarez by decision. More than, I believe it was like plus 105 here. So we'll wait to see if we could get anything like plus 115 and up on that. I'll look around. Gambot Ribovics. I like Ribovics plus 165 on MGM, I believe it was. Gamrot most likely puts him into the mat, but that's not how I line this fight. I thought it's a lot closer than what this line says, so I like the dog shot on Rebufix. Randy Brown, you could get him at pick'em money, and I believe he was even somewhere. Um, just to wrap this up, I'll look later. But yeah, Randy Brown, I think that's a decent play. Pico, Pitbull, like the over 2.5. Going to see a lot of grappling there. And, these guys are both going to get tired. Pico is maybe a little cautious after getting knocked out pretty badly. So maybe he comes with a more simple game plan of just kind of sticking to Pitbull and getting control time. And maybe Pitbull fights it off and makes it a fight late. But I'll take the over 2.5 and even look at Fico's distance. Cub Swanson, Nate to train. I'll wait. This is definitely a wait spot. See where the market moves, and you take anybody that's getting a lot of plus money. This wouldn't even shock me if this is a fight that gets a lot of money on it, and everyone's screaming FBI for one of the fighters, whoever gets the money. So for right now, that's a wait. Reyes Walker. What did I say? Yeah, Reyes TKO, which was what was it? Yeah, the 110, and then I believe FanDuel had a better number. So Reyes TKO, good play. Hockett TKO was another good play. I believe it was 260 on FanDuel. We'll take a look at that. If not, just play them outright. If we just want to skip all the prop plays, and just in case something crazy happens because it is heavyweight MMA, probably just take the plus money there on him. Marskanov Costa, I like the over, but not too much, so probably pass. And we got Olberg plus 100. And just real quick, go ahead and skip here if you're MMA only. I'm placing some NBA bets, future bets this weekend on the who's going to win it all, because the playoffs do start next week, I believe, beginning of the week. This weekend we'll wrap up the regular season. And if you know, Oklahoma City Thunder is powerhouses. You see the plus 115 number. It's an insane number for someone to win a championship at this stage. If they get to the finals, this number will most likely be like minus 200, 300. So if you do like them, I'd probably take it right now. But I'm looking at the Eastern Conference here. I'm looking at Boston. You could get plus 600 on FanDuel. I checked this morning. If it changed, my apologies, but I would take that right now. I think they're the deepest team. That's not in OKC. They got Vucevic. They got that. I don't think he's a rookie, but he's a younger center who's very athletic. Tatum is back. Jaylen Brown has been playing MVP type ball. They got the veteran guards. Peyton Pritchard hit threes. If he gets hot, they could beat anybody. Plus 600 on Boston Celtics to win it all. I think is a great number. Like I said, kind of similar to OKC. If they make it to the finals, they won't be plus 600. That'll be a steal price right here if you could get that. This is right here is a steal price plus 600 in my opinion, because I don't like these other teams in the East. I think the Cavs are chokers. I'm from Northeast Ohio area, so I'm pretty familiar with them. I don't like their team makeup at all. They kind of shrivel up in the limelight. Knicks are good. I do think they're a good playoff team, but they're still lacking in certain places, and I don't know. I just don't think they have the firepower like Boston does. And then Detroit. So I actually do like Detroit at this number. They've been the best team in the Eastern Conference all year. And to get disrespected, what I think you could get plus 2,200 was on DraftKings. I would lock that in. That's another good number just in case they end up being the truth. And like I said, they've been that all year. So to get that number on them feels like a good price. And wait a minute, what is this? Wow, so you could take the field versus OKC minus 145. That's crazy. Yeah, I'll take Boston plus 600 on FanDuel, and then Detroit plus 2,200 on DraftKings. To finish the spot up, or to finish the thought up on Detroit, they did get Cunningham back yesterday. He's been playing like MVP type ball too. So if he gets going, yeah, I mean they'll at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. The bottom of the East is pretty weak. There's some sleeper teams like Philadelphia. Charlotte was a surprise this year. I think they flame out in the playoffs, but everyone else doesn't really have the firepower. So I think all the value right now is on the East. If the Spurs make it, they're dangerous, but I still think they're a little too early. Boston, they're the same, but I thought they should get way better odds than the Spurs, in my opinion, to win it all. But that's most likely because they're in the East and they have to go against OKC if they make it, most likely. But yeah, Boston and Detroit are great picks. Um, I'd probably lock in a unit on both just to have like some fun future odds.